So there are still a few buildings intact, and there are also the cemeteries there.
Yeah.
And of course, Old Cahaba is known for its ghosts, and has actually been known for its ghost stories since really around the time of the Civil War. But the brochure, and let me pull it out. The official brochure that they give out at the visitor center actually has it has the new cemetery on it, which is it was a cemetery that was established there in 1851, and it says a quiet place to slow down and listen to bird songs. If you believe in local folklore, you might also hear ghostly voices or the cry of the mystical Wampus cat.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading that when I went there. I forgot about that. That's awesome.
What do you know about the Wampus cat?
I don't know much aside from that. Wasn't there some recent sightings of it, like in 2014 or 2004? I can't remember. But from what I hear, it's like supposedly like a spectral cat or some kind of it's got like the glowing red eyes and everything.
Yeah, and that's the description that I have seen in actually some of the books that talk about University of Tennessee, because they're the hill, which is the central hill on campus, and it's Ayers Hall that's on top of it. There have been sightings of a cat-like creature around that hill, and one of the books actually described it as being a Barghest, and I just pulled out my reference book. The Barghest, it actually comes from English folklore, mm-hmm. and is a spectral hound said to exist in Cornwall and northern England, and it is a death omen that manifests itself as a bear or large dog. And I have also read it associated with Celtic and Welsh folklore as well. And so it's kind of interesting that this thing would be making an appearance in southern Alabama at Old Cahaba, and then possibly on the campus of the University of Tennessee.
Definitely. One thing that I find interesting too is I've been seeing more accounts of like what people would consider like a hellhound or some kind of like almost like you described, like some kind of big dog.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I have come across accounts of that, including a friend of mine in Cherokee, North Carolina. This is a Native American friend who is Cherokee. She and a group of her friends went up to, I don't remember, it was someplace off of the Blue Ridge Parkway near Cherokee, and the Blue Ridge Parkway actually ends just north of Cherokee. So this group of people went up to this spot off the Blue Ridge Parkway, and they were there at night. It may have been that they were out looking for the Thomas Divide lights, which are ghost lights that are seen at Thomas Divide Overlook. Mm-hmm. But as they were sitting there, they started hearing this kind of growling sound, and they're looking around to try to find the source of it, and they realized that there were about 3 very large black dogs that were circling their vehicle. And one of the guys, who was white, who was with them, ended up going out and getting out of the car and going and sitting in the middle of the parking lot. And these creatures were just walking around him, just kind of pacing, and they continued to growl. And eventually they got him to come back in the car, but he was almost strange trance-like state. But
wow.
They were really concerned about these large black dogs because they all had the sensation that these things were not really of this earth, that they were something ghost-like or spectral.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember what happened, but I want to say that the dogs actually followed them down the mountain as they got back onto the Blue Ridge Parkway and headed back to Cherokee, and they followed them for some distance.
Wow.
And I just know that I would probably have messed up my pants had that happened to me. But I do know that particular overlook, the Thomas Divide overlook, has a lot of activity, not just in terms of the ghost lights that are seen there, but I have been up there several times, and you'll hear something going on, around you in the dark.
Yeah.
And it really is quite frightening.
It is. Anytime I'm in the woods, like around like that, especially at night, and you start hearing sounds and things like that, like, oh my God, my adrenaline will be going so fast, like so hard. But it's something I love, but it's, going alone too, like, gosh, it's an acquired taste, I guess.
Well, you really have to have some kahunas to actually go out by yourself.
I do
like
get some funny comments sometimes, like, do you carry a wheelbarrow to carry those balls? I'm like, that's hilarious. While we're on it, you were going to tell some, I forgot to mention about you were going to tell some stories from Cherokee, from your time there in Cherokee, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
If you want to go ahead and we can talk about some of those experiences.
Certainly. Well, I first went up to Cherokee when I was back in college, and I was a theater major and ended up getting hired to perform in the outdoor drama Unto These Hills in Cherokee. And what I ended up doing, I ended up working up there 3 years while I was in college, and then I've gone back twice as an adult. First in 2012, and then I was back up there in 2014. And when I was up there, I started collecting these accounts of ghost stories from throughout the Cherokee area. And the Cherokee people do, and like all Native Americans, have a particular affinity for the supernatural, and it's just part of their spirituality. I actually had a Cherokee friend tell me that among Native Americans, the supernatural is simply natural. I mean, they believe that it's just another part of the world. It might not exactly be explained by science, but it is something that is very much a part of a deeply ingrained part of their life.
Yeah.
And so I started collecting stories, and I actually had several of my own experiences while I was up there. One of the more interesting experiences, talking about the Blue Ridge Parkway, there is a spot off the Blue Ridge Parkway that is kind of above Cherokee, a place called Water Rock Knob. And this knob is accessed via the Blue Ridge Parkway. So I went up there one night with a native friend of mine, and we were going up there to look at the ghost lights that were often seen above the city of Cherokee. And so we're sitting there in this dark parking lot, and we were the only people up there. We're sitting there with the windows open, and our eyes had begun to adjust to the dark, and as we're sitting there, we're beginning to see these just lights, and it's really hard to tell if they were, maybe, lights from a house or perhaps headlights from a car, but these lights that would, shine for just a moment, and they would kind of dance on the mountainside and then vanish.
Yeah.
But we had started seeing some of these lights, and I turned to say something to my friend who's sitting in the passenger seat. And when I did, something caught my eye in the side mirror. And I focused on the side mirror for a moment, and I see this black mass step out from behind my car. And at the same moment, I heard like a rock being kicked in the parking lot. And I just froze for a moment and said, what the heck did I just see? And I turned to my friend and I said, I think we need to go. And she said, yeah, I think we need to go. So we started out, and she said, you saw it, didn't you? And I said, yes. And I started to describe it, and she said, don't talk about it until we get back to the parkway. So we drove down to the parkway, and I said, what did you see? And she said, I saw this like black shadow. And I said, it was kind of a mass to me. And then I heard it moving in the parking lot. And she said, well, that was a booger. And the term booger among the Cherokee is used to describe mischievous and sometimes evil spirits. Mm-hmm. And, they are actually somewhat celebrated in Cherokee culture. The Cherokee actually have something called the booger dance that is done at their private ceremonies. And what happens is young men will sneak off before this dance, and they'll come back with these wild masks on, and they'll come in and they'll start chasing young women and kind of attacking people, not violently, but they are actually, in the dance, they are meant to represent really white people who have come in and preyed on the Cherokee. Mm-hmm. But they do have this very strong belief in these boogers or these, really negative spirits. And some of these spirits are actually known to, or believed to, manifest as screech owls. Wow. And so if you hear the whinny of a screech owl, which the eastern screech owl does make this kind of whinnying sound at night, and that is considered actually an omen of death. And if you hear it, the Cherokee will tell you you're supposed to tie a knot in your shirt tail, which, if it is actually a booger, it will choke the booger and prevent the booger from coming after you or attacking your family.
It's good to know.
I had several experiences where I did hear this whinnying screech owl, and here I am, trying to tie a knot in my shirt tail. If you've ever tried to do that, it's not exactly very easy. Yeah. And I kind of felt like a fool doing it, but, I did wonder about what spiritual consequences might be had if I didn't do that.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
But one of the last nights I was in Cherokee, and that was in, I think that was 2012, I was driving out of the cast housing, and I see this bird swoop in front of my car, and the store next to me. And so I actually stopped. I have an interest in birds, so I backed up to see what kind of bird it is. And I look up, and it is an eastern screech owl. And it's just sitting there looking at me.
Wow.
And so I was going to meet one of my native friends and I get to the restaurant